In Western Australia, a group of farmers has hired a law firm to conduct their own independent review into how the disastrous bushfires were handled by fire authorities in November last year. 4 people died and millions of dollars of assets were lost in the wildfires, which the Esperance farmers believe could have been avoided. The farmers say changes must be made to bushfire management to avoid repeating the tragedy. Mark Bennett reports from Esperance.
Three months after the firestorm, the broadacre country northeast of Esperance looks like a desert. It still bears the scars, but the recovery is underway. Fencing is being replaced and the paddocks are being resown. But for grass patch farmers Greg Curnow and Dan Sanderson, the healing won't begin until they find out what went so badly wrong last November.
What we've been through, I hope, no one else has to go through, because it's bloody terrible.
With a huge fire front sweeping towards his farm, Greg Curnow's uncle, Kim Curnow, tried to warn his neighbours, but he was too late. Kim Curnow was trapped by the flames. 3 farm workers also perished trying to escape, and many others lost their life's work.
Just a loss of property, and guys have lost all their machinery, and farms totally torched, scorched to within an inch of their life.
Fanned by 80 to 100 km/h winds, the fire quickly jumped containment lines.
We were up where it come out of the Crown land up on the edge north of Cascades. We were up there and got burnt over like a lot of us did. We were lucky we found a bare paddock, a fallow paddock to hide on while it went through. There wasn't much you could do in the peak of the fire till probably 3 or 4 o'clock in that afternoon. It was basically uncontrollable.
Tens of thousands of hectares of grain, shaping as one of the region's best seasons, was destroyed. Sheds, machinery and houses were swept up in the blaze.
It sort of was outrunning vehicles. Anyone in its path was sort of had to get out very quickly. We've had reports of it overrunning trucks that were going 70 or 80 kilometres per hour.
A day later, Dave Vandenberg and his neighbours were still in shock.
Everyone is extremely disappointed with a few of the government departments in the fact that we were hamstrung as far as doing anything, and then on Tuesday they basically left us be, walked away, left a farmer in charge, and there was a handful of farmers trying to contain the biggest fire we've ever seen.
I mean, hindsight's good. We could have maybe done something earlier, I'm not sure, but maybe a back burn. That's what we've got to look at down the future.
Now farmers from the region have decided to find out for themselves why action wasn't taken sooner.
When a fire starts, the attitude needs to be to put the fire out as soon as possible, and that doesn't seem to be the attitude from the relevant authorities involved.
They've hired a Perth legal firm to conduct a private inquiry into decisions taken before and during the fire.
The problem happens when the fire escalates. We get a heap of people come down from Perth or from out of the area, and they come in and they take control, and the wheels just seem to fall off.
Farmers and volunteer firefighters across WA have contacted them, sharing similar concerns that local knowledge, skills and resources are underutilised. The report won't be cheap.
It's going to cost tens of thousands of dollars, hopefully less than $100,000.
Already financial support is coming from around the state, and moral support from the local Shire president.
People aren't going to sit and wait for somebody to do it for them. Right from day one, they were up and running, doing it for themselves.
Shire President Victoria Brown believes the report will highlight the need for change.
They want governments to take a long, hard look at what happened in November here in Esperance, because it doesn't just happen here, it happens all around this state. And there are definitely questions that need to be answered, and there are definitely processes and policies that could be improved.
We're used to doing, looking after ourselves and doing what we do out here to make things work. So as for having to do our own review, from everybody I spoke to, go for it. I reckon that's what we do.
Hopefully a few people take note of these fires, as tragic as it is, to get some good out of it for the next one, because we always seem to have one every 10 years or less, a big fire, you get the conditions right and bang,
As the Scadden and Cascade farmers launched their own privately funded inquiry into the fires in Esperance, the state government has launched a full Royal Commission-style inquiry into the fires that devastated southwest communities in WA in the shires of Harvey and Waroona in January, when 160 properties were burnt. The state government has hired a former head of the Victorian Country Fire Authority, Ewan Ferguson, and he'll have the full powers to subpoena witnesses and call public hearings. Ewan Ferguson says there are compelling questions to be answered. He has toured the area as part of his investigation to find out if anything could have been done to save the township of Yarloop, which was all but wiped out.
I think we owe it to the community who have lost their dwellings, been severely affected by this fire, to produce an inquiry that answers a number of compelling questions which have come about following the fire.
Some agencies have argued the scope of the inquiry isn't wide enough and it should include the Esperance fires. Mr Ferguson says whilst the Scadden Cascade blaze isn't explicitly listed in his terms of reference, he will monitor the Department of Fire and Emergency Services internal review.
So did you pull this down? Or did
Greg Curnow, Dan Sanderson and the other Esperance farmers are disappointed there won't be a public inquiry into the fire. Funding their own investigation is about getting to the truth, but at this stage they're not looking for compensation.
At the moment, the litigation is just not on the radar. It may be in the future, you never say never.
They say they owe it to the memories of Kim Curnow and the others who died to fight for change.
It's nothing about retribution for Kim. What's happened. We all wish he was still here, but...
Let's see if we can make something better come out of it for everybody in the whole state. But for a sparsely populated area, we can't expect much more.